everybody, and welcome back to this second episode of In Between the Speaks, talking about unappreciation. If you remember the last episode, we kind of started with feelings of unappreciation linked to expectations not being met, unmet expectations, and also unrealistic expectations. We're bridging that conversation over into how the weight of feeling unseen stresses out relationships. Still unappreciation, but when you're feeling unseen and the weight unappreciation has in your relationship, right? And I'm Art Howard, licensed counselor in the great state of New Jersey, also licensed in Delaware and Georgia.
Hey y'all, I'm Marie, and I am a minister, life coach, mentor, and more.
Right. And again, we're going to dive into this topic of unappreciation, feeling unseen, unheard, and unappreciated in your relationship.
So again, I spoke about this the last time. It's deeper than you doing something and you're being acknowledged for doing it. Like, thank you. Sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't, because if I walk into the house and you see that it's clean and you say, oh, thank you for cleaning, but not only did I clean, but I went to work the full day. I cooked and I took care of our daughter. And it's like, okay, so he said thank you, but then he'll go make a plate of food and have crumbs everywhere. Right? And so are you really thanking me? Are you really appreciative that I did all that? Honey?
What? Oh, we're speaking hypothetically, because all that stuff she just laid out is not really how stuff goes down. We can do a blow by blow of what a regular day is if you really want to. I'm trying to be, nice in this. So don't be filling these people's heads with you coming in and doing stuff like you're Superwoman, and I'm just sitting here putting crumbs on the table, right? I don't even want to go there, with that. But I can tell you that's a great example of what being unseen and unheard is like. You see what she just said about how she comes home, she cooks, how she takes care of the kid and she cleans, when she does cook, I'm not going to say she doesn't cook, right?
Because you've been eating good, right?
Again, that's perspective. She does.
Oh,
cook.
Okay. You're going to be hungry tomorrow.
That's why they got fast food. She does cook, but taking care of our daughter, it's like that's not a one person show. When she gets up in the morning, her main focus really is getting out of the house to get to work, because she leaves really early. So that leaves me to have to not only get myself ready to go to work, I got to get our daughter ready for school. That means making sure she's in the shower, because she gets in the shower and she doesn't wash. She stands like...
Don't talk about our baby like that.
It's the truth. She doesn't... I gotta, make sure that she's using soap. She'll stand there and just let the water hit her and then jump out of the shower.
This is not about her taking a shower. It's about unappreciative.
No, but I'm explaining to the folks how taking a shower, making sure she's washing up, is just not Ariana getting to the shower. It's making sure that she's actually using soap and stuff in the shower. Then I pick out her clothes in the morning and I iron them, so she's not looking like a little hobo with her stuff all wrinkled. So I got to pick out her clothes. I got to iron it. I got to make sure that she makes her bed in the morning. So I got to tell her that 3-4 times, making bed. And sometimes I got to go in there and help her make it. Make sure that she takes a shower. Make sure that she brushes her teeth. Make sure that she gets dressed. And while my wife is upstairs getting herself ready, I'm downstairs packing her lunchbox.
Wait a minute. First, you make it sound like you do everything.
And have I said anything yet that doesn't happen?
I do get the clothes out, and then you don't want to wear her to wear the clothes that I get out.
Marie, I'm not okay. Let's even go to that part. You do get her clothes out, but let's be honest. On the average week of 5 days,
True.
of those 5 days, how many days are you getting her clothes out? And then, if you are getting her clothes out those days, are you then ironing her clothes or just getting clothes out, putting them on the bed? I still have to iron them because they're wrinkled. Unless you want to wear wrinkled stuff.
No, you like the iron.
No, well, I don't like the iron, but I don't like wrinkled up clothes either. So
He irons undershirts too. So
I don't iron. What are you talking about?
you iron undershirts.
Now you're trying to divert me with
No.
with
Okay,
like
I'm sorry. Go back. I'm
crazy
sorry,
stuff.
I'm
Like
sorry.
out of 5 days, maybe 1 or 2, she's getting her clothes together, and 2 is being gracious. 2 is me being gracious, and of those 2 times, I still have to iron the stuff. So she'll find something, but I still have to iron it, right? And also in the morning, ask who's doing her. I do her laundry. I gotta get her laundry. Sometimes I get her laundry together. She's in karate, so I know when she gets home, there's not a lot of time between her getting home and going to karate. So I gotta iron not only her clothes for school, I gotta iron her karate stuff when she gets home so she can just put it on and leave. And like I was saying, when she's upstairs taking a shower and doing her makeup and stuff like that,
Makeup.
doing her makeup stuff, I'm downstairs, I'm packing her lunch. I'm making sure she has fruit. I'm making sure she has a snack. And I make sure that I write a little note and put it in her thing so that she remembers to be good during the day.
It sounds like you're getting angry.
No, I'm just telling the truth.
He sounds like he's getting angry.
But it's about being unseen. That now I haven't even finished with everything that I said, because not only that, I pack her book bag up. I make sure she has water in her water jug with ice. I put that in there. I make sure she got library, or she has yoga, or she has whatever that she has what she needs for the day. I do all that and still have to get myself together and get myself to work. But yet and still, when this conversation started, you good folks out there would have thought that I did 0 for her in the morning, when her whole morning routine is me getting her together. Because we had an agreement a long, long time ago about I'll get her together in the morning because she has to go to work, and then she'll get her together in the evening so that she'll get her ready for bed. She'll read to her like on occasion. I don't really do any of that. Like sometimes when I get up from the basement from doing counseling, she's already up in bed some of the time because I do it like really late, and her bedtime's like 8:30. So she was reading stuff like that, but it wasn't just reading to her. It was also the original agreement was getting the clothes out and getting that stuff ready so I wouldn't have to do that in the morning. But that happened maybe like a week.
Again, I think we're kind of getting off topic, but
I don't think we're getting off topic. We're talking about being unappreciated.
And so
appreciated.
We went on for about 8 minutes about what you've done.
Right, because I don't feel appreciated for what I've done. I'm giving
you.
Now you're being condescending, which is even worse. You know what I mean? That's even worse. Worse than being unappreciated is being condescending about it. I'm just showing these good folks out there, like how you started this gave the impression that I did diddly squat for this little girl in the morning, which is entirely not true, right? But it's that thing about feeling unseen, unheard, and it especially affects men because by definition and by culture's definition, we're supposed to be like the providers and money earners and all this other kind of stuff. So you got brothers out there who not only are the breadwinners of the house, they're holding it down even after they get off of work. They're coming home, they're making sure the house is taken care of, they're making sure the kids are taken care of, and a lot of times these brothers don't even get a thank you, but they'll get a critique off of something that they forget to do. That's where this unappreciation stuff comes in. And that not being acknowledged and the stuff that you do being minimized is what irritates folks and what causes like arguments. So I'm not off topic. I'm 100% on topic of what we're supposed to be talking about. Now you could dispute what I'm saying, but I don't think that you can, because I haven't said anything yet that was not true. Have I? No, I haven't. That was a rhetorical question. I didn't really need an answer.
I'm not going to give you one either.
That's good. So let's keep going.
So getting back to taking care of our daughter when I get off from work after my 3-hour commute, about an hour and some change going there, 5 in the morning, and getting back with an hour and a half, 2-hour commute sometimes, and then picking her up, taking her, coming home, trying to get her something to eat before we go to karate, or maybe I'm doing a class or something. It's always something after work, and her bedtime is 8:30. I try my best to get into bed at 8:30. It doesn't work out too often because, I have to make sure she gets showered. I have to make sure she eats. I have to make sure that she's good. We say our prayers every night, and we read. I do a lot too. A lot of my stuff is driving. And for those of you who know me, I was divorced. And when I was divorced, I had 5 children. I was a single mom of 5 kids. And when it was time for the kids to see their dad, it was always me driving back and forth. And I did that for a good, 16 years? A good 16 years, like driving, and it seems like it never stops. I've been driving since I was about 12, unofficially, but officially since I was 16. Literally, I've been driving. And again, I told you my age before, 56, and about 40 years that I've been driving. And people seem to think that, oh, Marie, you love to drive. No, I don't. I do not love to drive. So, folks, my friends, my family, I do not love to drive. I had to drive. And now that, I still have an 8-year-old at this ripe young age, I don't mind taking her to her karate 3 times a week. Lately, I've been reducing that to 2. What is that face for? I've been reducing that to 2.
Yeah, because on Saturdays, normally it's been my responsibility to take her. So she goes 2 times during the week and then 1 time on Saturday. But I've been taking her on Saturdays. What?
You took her last Saturday.
Well, we just started Made Men this week. It's 12 weeks of I do facilitation on Saturday at 9. That just started.
Okay, so you took her the Saturday before that then?
Well, Saturday before that, you guys were on vacation.
Oh, well, when we were here.
when we were here, you guys were going like 2 Saturdays in a row.
Okay, but I'm saying when we were here.
Yeah, I did take her because I would go, because here's what else I had to do. Talk about driving. Like, I'm paying the price of what her ex-husband did when you think about it, because her ex-husband made her drive all the time. She gets mad now I have to be the family chauffeur. So anytime we go anywhere,
let me clear that up.
Let me finish my thought first. Anytime we go anywhere, I'm the one that has to drive. And I've been driving anywhere and everywhere we had to go. But when you just hear that story she just told, the ex got a bigger pat. Like I'm being punished for something that I had nothing to do with. The arrangement with those drop offs and pickups with the kids, I didn't think that made any sense in the first place. I'm the one that suggested a easier way to do that, because you were picking them up and driving them to school. I mean, like it was a crazy arrangement when we first got together, which made zero sense to me. So I suggested a different way to do it, which truthfully you adopted. So it didn't lessen the amount of driving you were doing, because he was still doing nothing and you were driving and picking him up all the time. But it was a more realistic way of driving. But even though that still has nothing to do with the fact that you were adamant about all your friends not being forced to drive, and I'm telling you, I'm making you drive, which turned into me doing all the driving when we go anywhere. But yet I hear that this man wasn't doing any driving at all.
Actually, okay, so let's back up. When I was married, my ex did the driving. I did not do the driving. Okay, so let's clear that up. After the divorce, he refused, whatever the issue is, he refused to drop them off, meet me halfway, or what have you. So for those 16 years, I don't recall it getting easier. I still, every single week, I had to pick them up from the next state, because I live in the great state of New Jersey. Their dad lived in Pennsylvania, and I made that choice to move. And so when I made that choice to move from Pennsylvania, he felt as though it was my responsibility to provide the transportation. For whatever reason, I never held that against my children, but for 16 years, it was me getting off from work, regardless of whatever my commute was. Every Friday, I would drive an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, to get to them, bring them back to New Jersey, another hour and a half, 2 hours to get back, make sure they're good, fix them dinner, whatever, try to plan activities for them while they were here. And then on Monday, they were at one point, they were at 3 different schools. I had 2 in the elementary, 1 in middle, and 1 in high school. So I was going to 3 different schools, and, the reality of it, the school bus stopped right in front of my ex's house. Like, that's the home that I purchased and I left because I didn't want too much change for the kids. But the school bus stopped right in front of the house, and he did not want the children there before I, went to work. So I had to either sit there in front of the house and wait for the school bus to come, or if I wanted to be to work on time, I would drop them off at the 3 different schools and then run to work, and then afterwards come, go pick them back up on that Friday. And then all summer, was our arrangement that I would have them every holiday that they were out of school. I had them. And, and even in that, just not so much as in this relationship with my current husband, Art, but when I was divorced, there was no appreciation whatsoever from their father, because I could have taken him to court, which I did not, to do something that was mutually beneficial, for both of us, where we probably could have met somewhere or what have you. I didn't push it because I didn't want that to be I didn't want that to get in between, my relationship with my children, and I didn't want to go back and forth to court. I am not one. I could have made a good attorney and judge. However, that's not where I wanted to have my children at all the time. But, it is some truth in what Art says about
some.
It is some truth of what he said about holding him accountable for some of the things that I actually let my ex get away with. And, I do apologize about that, but this is not, everything is not on me. So I want to make this clear. The weight of unappreciation is not just me not appreciating Art. It's also Art not appreciating me, because after I did all of that, cooked and cleaned, took care of 5 children at one time. When we got together, my oldest was, he he was divorced and he got married again. So he, was out of the house. So we had 4 that, remained with us during the majority of our beginnings. And it was a lot. And then, Art would sometimes go out on Fridays. I would still be home with the kids. And we, really didn't have a date night because I always had the kids home. I'm not going to leave the kids alone. And as they got older, I thought it was more important because I was divorced. So I had some guilt on me about the divorce and the relationship with my children. So, and by the time the weekend that I didn't have them, I was exhausted. So sometimes we went places, but it was rare. But, I felt like at that time Art did not appreciate me because it didn't stop his flow from going out on Fridays.
Well, I mean, maybe not. I mean, but again, that's like really perspective. Now, I can fully appreciate the situation that Marie was in and the lack of consideration of the ex-husband during the time. But when you look at it, when we got together, I had no kids. I had a cat. So she already had 5 kids, right? And we used to listen to these shows talking about being unequally yoked and how a man who had no kids and a decent job. Because when I met you, what was I doing? I was a school principal when I met you with no kids, living in a townhouse in Mount Laurel, and for you to assume that
You came after me, so
came after you or not came, it still is irrelevant to the facts of the situation. Our situation, our life situations were different. When you talk about unappreciation, I think I showed a ton of appreciation. Not only did like some dudes would have held that like against a woman, because that's the whole show we was watching. What we was talking about, they was talking about how I forget who it wasn't that dude that passed. It wasn't him, although he did say the same thing. What's his name? Samuels. Kevin Samuel. I forget what his name is. It wasn't him. It was a woman who was talking about it, and about how men with no kids shouldn't date a woman with no kids and all that. And you just didn't have one kid. You had kids, 5 of them, right? That did not deter me from anything. And secondly, if you want to talk about appreciation, I moved Autumn into my 2-bedroom townhouse in New Jersey.
after he talked me into selling my house.
If we want to talk about that house, now that'll be a whole different episode.
Okay, we're not going to go there.
The only thing I'm going to say about that house,
we're not going there.
I used to go over there and it used to be all nice and warm. I said, "Oh, this is a nice and warm house." I realized that she was using oil to heat her house. She only heated the house because she knew I was coming.
No, that's not true.
The kids told me that. They told me.
No. Let's back up. Let's back up.
Oh my God. The kids told me that.
So the kids wouldn't know that.
They told me that. They told me that. It was, oh my God, it was hilarious.
A figment of his imagination.
Okay.
So my house had oil heat. So everyone,
I thought you were going to get into that. You just want
but you brought it up. So my house had oil heat. So there were times when I did not, because it went from when I first moved into the home, it was about $400 to fill up my tank. The tank was, I think, 220 gallons. It would take me about $400 to fill it up, and that would last like 3 weeks, right? It got to a point where, and my mother had passed away because my mother was living with me, that it was $800 every 2 to 3 weeks. It was a bad winter. And it was freezing. And so I did not always have the funds to, my house was 6 bedrooms, 3 baths. It was huge. It was huge. And the windows needed to be replaced. So I did a lot of work in the house, but that $800 and some dollar, every 2 to 3 weeks, it was getting to my pocket. So there were times I was like, enough is enough. And I'll do the old school way where I would have the boiling water on the stove. I would have the stove on and boiling like 3 or 4 pots of water to heat up the house. And the house was hot. Like, we were good. We did not miss that oil. And so there were times when it was, would get too hot, but like when he would come over and if it was a little chill in the air, I would turn on the oven. Right? I would turn on the oven. But when he gets there, I would close the oven door to heat it up. Like, just in case you don't have the funds or whatever, if your electric get cut off, the stove is gas. So the gas will still work. You just take a match or a lighter and light that sucker up, and you can get your stove and you can get your house warm. How about that? How about that?
All you just did was tell the people that you were flim-flamming me about the heat in the house. But I mean, we're not gonna go there. All right, we were talking about unappreciation and being unseen and unheard. And my point of all that was I'm suffering from the lack of appreciation that your ex has showed you.
And then some of which you too.
Huh?
Like I mentioned, you were going out every single Friday. Every Friday, you'd be like, "Oh, I'm going out to happy hour," blah 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 blah. Every Friday.
Yeah, I was. Man, I was stressed between working and going out on Friday was kind of my reprieve. But it still doesn't take away from the fact of the unappreciation that your ex was showing and him being not cooperative. I became I was basically punished for the stuff that he wasn't doing. You know what I mean? No matter how you try to slice it, to me, that's the point that I was making. And the whole thing about appreciation, I was talking about what I do for Ariana in the morning is because you started off our conversation by making it seem like all I do is come in the house and eat and leave crumbs everywhere, which is completely not the case. You know what I mean? Like, she comes home and she's cleaning. We pay for a maid. It got
a maid as a housekeeper.
Yeah, we paid for a housekeeper to come because I'm trying to show appreciation. I don't want to pay for no housekeeper.
I appreciate you with that one.
Because the fact of the matter is, it was always, I work, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I can't be doing this cleaning too. So I was coming in and I was cleaning too. But I got tired of I just said about like laundry and kitchen and stuff like that. So I started paying for a housekeeper. You know what I mean?
We started paying for it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we are paying for it, but before it was my responsibility because I'm the one that wanted it. Some light bulb done switched off. Maybe it was something in Change Her that made her realize that it was great to have this and to help me out. So I like to thank Pastor Shamika for enlightening her on that. For I don't know where that epiphany came from, but I do appreciate it. But before that, I was paying for it, and the reason why I was paying for it is because I'm the one that wanted it. I'm the one that was complaining.
Okay.
Well, I was the one that was complaining about the status of the house.
The crumbs.
It ain't nothing about crumbs, Marie. It's like
the crumbs.
Crumbs ain't the only thing. It's the crumbs and the clothes everywhere, and stuff on the couch, and dishes in the sink. Don't try to hit me under the table. You done started now, girl. I mean, like, we want to be real, right? Isn't that her thing on our first one? I want to keep it real, so we can keep it real. It's all that stuff. My grandmother. Here's how tough my grandmother was with sinks and kitchens. If that kitchen wasn't spotless, she'd wake you up 2-3 o'clock in the morning to come and clean a fork that's been left in there. She did not play.
That's all she did was wake you up. We got our butts whipped. Like,
really, she wasn't whipping your butt enough because that would have. because
We
that would have
would
sat
be-
with you. Because it sits with me.
No,
It's,
so-
it ain't, you know, I ain't want. I'm gonna say that my grandma was with me.
My mother
everybody
had
knows
Black Betsy, and it was a 1/4 inch thick leather belt cut in strips at the end. And I have pictures of her with it around her neck.
That's great.
She would wake us up
didn't
2:00 in the morning
set
with a
in.
beating, 2 or 3,
didn't set
because we didn't
in
wash the dishes.
the same way that it set in for me with that sink. Because if it did, I still have flashbacks of her waking us up, making us clean and stuff like that. So it didn't set in the same way with your mom that it did with my grandma. My grandma didn't play about the kitchen. So I'm really kind of anal about it. I even put a little sign up there that said, please don't leave dishes in the sink, but it don't even matter. They still leave dishes in the sink. You know what I mean? So it's little things like that. Now, that's another thing on appreciation, right? So if you know that something is an issue for your partner.
Like the crumbs.
You keep going on the crumbs. I don't say anything about your clothes.
You just did.
But I didn't tell the people that you leave your clothes on the tub. You got to clothes
What?
on. You don't leave your clothes in the tub.
No.
You leave your clothes.
No.
You take your clothes off. You put your clothes on the tub. So in a week there'll be a pile of clothes up on the tub. Not to mention there'll be clothes like we got like this little thing on our bed that you can sit on. There's clothes on that.
It's not on our bed. It's a bench at the foot of our bed.
Yeah, the bench at the foot of our bed. There's clothes on that too. It's clothes on the bed. Probably ain't clothes on.
We
on
both
that.
have clothes on that.
Friends.
We both.
I could take this camera up there right now. We can go through everything that's on there, and I can guarantee that there's nothing of mine on there.
There is.
Don't make me do it, sugar. Don't make me do it.
Do
because
it.
there's nothing of mine's on. There's nothing of mine's on there. And the only reason there's clothes not on the tub like you normally leave them because I've been taking them off there.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
So
because every time I go when they was away for vacation, everything was great. Everything was great.
We live here.
Everything was great.
We live here.
And she said, Art, the housekeeper wants to know if she's going to come on Friday. I was like, why? This place is like immaculate. But then I was like, wait a minute. They're going to be coming back soon. So maybe she should come. And lo and behold, I've been trying extra hard to make sure that this place stays in the same condition.
We live here.
Yeah, you don't got to leave your stuff everywhere. Again, that's...
So this is unappreciation because I just said I do clean. Like I came in here today, cleaned up the kitchen. So I'll cook, right? And then he would eat. He would put his stuff in the sink and walk on away, as if they're going to disappear.
Oh my Jesus Christ!
He's allergic to dishwater. He is literally allergic to dishwater.
Lord, help my wife from lying to these folks out there.
I don't lie.
If
you know me, I don't lie.
He
is allergic to dishwater.
You're stretching the truth.
The closest he gets to dishwater is he'll put all the dishes. Like he has this thing with tubs. Like,
so you washed the dishes today?
So yes, I did.
So the dishes that you washed today, the dishes that you washed today. Yeah, I'm helping.
This is not helping them.
But
if anything, this is letting you know that you are not alone. The same issues that you have in your house is happening in everyone's house. Like for the most part, unless you have a live-in cleaner that will come and clean up behind you. Yeah. We need to help these folks. We should not. So letting you know that although we have this exchange, at the end of the day, we do work together. If we're paying the housekeeper to come, we both do that. If we are deciding, okay, we're going to dig in and we're going to clean up, like I am so big, especially now on getting rid of stuff. Like I grew up in a house where we had knickknacks. We had the china cabinet. We had the everything. And it's getting overwhelming. And I think, and that's one thing we're going to have to talk on. It's overwhelming. When there's a lot of stuff and you want me to clean, it's overwhelming to have to clean all of that. So I'm in this mindset and I'm in this zone right now of getting rid of stuff so we can have openness, so we can air out, so we can... Like, I don't want the china cabinet anymore. It's old. It's outdated. Like, I'm so tired of that. I'm tired of the entertainment center. I had Art get rid of the coffee table. It's just stuff. And and I'm getting off topic, but women get overwhelmed. You know, like he's saying he was getting overwhelmed with the crumbs and the clothes, right? I get overwhelmed with too much stuff. I am not one of those folks that can have a house full of stuff. It's overwhelming and it shuts me down where I don't want to clean. And I do, like, if no one's in the house, I have a ball cleaning. Like, I have my music on. I will be on my knees, just like my mom taught us, cleaning the woodworks, cleaning the walls, wiping the walls down, cleaning every nook and cranny. But then when someone's in the house, it just takes away from that space, the headspace that I'm, the zone that I get in. And I shut down and I don't want to do anything because it's like, that was my energy being alone. Like, yeah, that.
Okay. I mean, like, all right. I don't want to get into more of a tit for tat that we've already kind of been in with some stuff, you know.
What can we say to help them?
Well, I think the point that we're trying to make is that when you're not when you're not showing appreciation, this is the kind of stuff that happens, right? But it's really like perspective, and I can't wait till we have like we need to have like an audience in a panel, you know what I mean? Because sometimes talking to Marie, you don't get it. You don't get it. And it's like I'm going around in circles talking about stuff. I'm trying to give examples, and it's just no end to no light in that tunnel. You know what I mean? It needs.
What does that mean? No light in the tunnel?
There's no light at the. You never heard light at the end of the tunnel?
No.
You never heard the phrase, "There's a light at the end of the tunnel."
Well, for being optimistic, yes. There's light at the end of the tunnel. That's
okay.
optimism.
So I said there's no light in that tunnel. So what's the difference?
So you don't see you're not optimistic. You don't see a brighter future. It's all dim and dark.
What are you talking about?
You just said there's no light in the tunnel.
Yeah, but you're taking one phrase out of the context of the sentence I was making. You do that's got to be another episode too. Like there's a skill to listening, right? You can be
very well.
Yeah, you're a defensive listener though. You listen for words that can
We
trigger
both
you.
are. We both are.
You're defensive listening already. You know what I mean? You're defensive. You're proving exactly my point to the folks out there. You're a defensive listener. You're listening for little words or phrases that you can jump on to either attack or prove your point. That's not listening to understand or listening to be empathetic. That's listening from a defensive posture from the very beginning. Now I just helped somebody right there, talking about helping people. I just helped somebody right there because some man out there knows exactly what I'm talking about. You could say you could have a 20-minute conversation, but you could say 2 seconds of a phrase that nothing you said in those other 19 minutes and 58 seconds matter. It's that 2-second phrase that you said that they latch on to, and then that becomes the focus of the conversation. You know what I mean? It's listening, being a good listener, listening to hear, to be empathetic, to understand, right? That's a whole nother episode within itself, right? And I started this by saying this appreciation thing is going to be like a 3-part series because I don't think we got to anything in the first episode because we got sidetracked, and this one definitely, this stuff that she's saying completely derailed the plan that I think we had going into this. But if anything, you can see how important it is to continuously show the person that you're with appreciation for the stuff that they do, especially if you want those things kind of to be repeated and continued.
Let's give them an example of showing appreciation.
I just told them something.
Right, but I'm saying let's give them an example. What do you appreciate about me?
I appreciate that you let me finish my thoughts. I appreciate that very much. So I was trying to explain how if you want a behavior repeated, you got to acknowledge it. In that very first episode we did on this, we talked about how when Ariana was potty training and we made a big deal about it. And so she associated that with doing something good. So she kept doing it and she probably trained herself really early. Same kind of theory applies, right, to this. And one another episode, we're going to talk about how some relationships don't succeed because it's a no-sum game kind of thing, and it's not a one-up, not a tit for tat. It's not you just this. We should be just doing it. But that's a whole nother episode. I mean, I got to start writing this stuff down because I forget. I forget. There's so much stuff that I could talk about from the example of our relationship. Most of my clients they be like, wow, Art, you need to put this all in a book. I'm like, yeah, I should. But I'm telling you, not just from psychological, no, I'm telling you from lived experience. I'm telling you from lived experience. I'll be like, man, what y'all going through, I can tell you X, Y, and Z, should do this, should do that. And it works out for them because they listen to what I say.
So it doesn't work for us?
You don't listen to what I say.
Oh, okay.
You don't listen to what I say. You know what I mean? You don't listen to things that I suggest. It's what I just said about listening to understand, to be empathetic. It's like defensive listening. It takes an extra layer of explaining and experiencing and lifing.
I think my clients would disagree with what you just stated. Because
well, I don't know
they always say I'm a great listener.
Well, yippee hooray for them. You know what? That has to do with anything.
So, honey, I appreciate you for getting our daughter ready in the morning for school.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you. I should be appreciated for that. So our next episode is going to have to really focus on some of the things that we were kind of set out to kind of help people to do. I don't know if we're going to get there. This went from a 2-part episode. This may be turned into a 10-part. I don't want to talk about unappreciation for the next 8 episodes. So hopefully we can wrap everything up this next time. Maybe give some tips on how to show appreciation. Maybe I'll write it down on a little piece of paper and we'll hold it up. That way we can stay on topic and not vacillate to these other stories, and we can make this like a little bit more succinct.
And sometimes we will have to capitulate and go with the flow so we can keep harmony. But let's talk 30 seconds about what's coming up in September.
Well, I mean, you could talk about it because you've been dying to talk about it. Like every time we end, honey, there's something do you want to share? Honey,
no,
there's something you want to
share?
share?
I shared it last time, so let's
I don't know. You didn't share it last time.
Okay, so Queens and Kings, guess what? September 26th to the 28th, it is the Royal Connection in Princeton, New Jersey at the Hyatt Regency. Book your rooms now. Go to inbetweenthespeaks.com and find out all the information you need. We are going to have a fabulous time and we're having great panelists and that list is growing. So check it out, inbetweenthespeaks.com.
Yeah, you can see this in live because you'll see that this ain't an act. This is just the way that we operate.
But we are going to be offering tools to help because what you see now, we've come a long way. And before, like I said before, there would be walking, people walk out the house or I would go upstairs or what have you. But now we've come to this where we could just laugh about it. And this is authentic. Like, it's not an argument. It's not anything deep. It's laughter.
We're not arguing. But see, here's a fallacy. now you're gonna make me put my therapist hat on. Here's a fallacy in relationships. People think that relationships are built off having no kind of conflict. That's not true. You can have conflict 4 or 5 times during the week. That's not the distinguishing factor of whether or not your relationship is going to survive or not. If the conflict that you have results in no kind of conclusions, or if, like she said, somebody's sleeping on the couch, somebody's leaving, it turns into an argument, y'all not talking for like 3 days, that's when this stuff becomes toxic. You know, you in a relationship have every right to complain about anything. Complaints are fine. It's the criticism that's the difference. You know what? I need to say that because I had that workshop at the retreat. I'm doing that on 4 things that kill communication, and one of those 4 things is critiques versus a complaint. You can complain. You know, you have every right to complain. You were supposed to take out the trash. You didn't take out the trash. Honey, you said you're going to take out the trash. You know the trash comes every Tuesday. I come home, trash still there, right?
Honey, you said you were going to pick up the crumbs.
That's fine. A critique is what she just did. You're attacking the person for who they are, right? Like, why are you so sloppy? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? No, Marie, didn't I say I appreciate the fact that you listen? Now you're turning me to a liar because you're not listening. A critique is you're attacking the person. And when you attack the person, then that person becomes defensive. That's where things go off the rail, right? So you can complain about stuff all day long. As long as those complaints are met with empathy, listening skills, not listening defensively, listening empathetically, and listening to understand and appreciate, you know, you're not just trying to capitulate to somebody's will.
I know what that means.
Good. That's why I use the word. And that's the kind of stuff that we should be expressing and giving on this next episode. We're gonna spend 40 minutes of going back and forth and learning about the fact that you had no heat and I got flim-flammed by you opening up the stove and boiling water on the stove. But still all good.
Look, that helped when we were in our marriage. That helped us stay warm because there were times when the entire neighborhood lost power, right? But we still had that gas and we were still able to heat the house.
All right, look, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. So until next time, in between the speaks, we'll see you later, kings and queens. Have a great one.
Yeah, don't be starting. Now you're trying to...